Hey everyone, this is Milton. I'm back with the third season of my story. In my last video, I told you about how I was walking into a trap. A lot of things happened after that, but before getting into it, let me brief you on everything that occurred. I decided to run for the local elections so that no one could ever take me down again. For this, I hired Raymond, my lookalike. His job was to act as my long-lost brother and distract Natalie and Penny while I took care of the elections. But things went downhill when one night, Melissa appeared at my door. Melissa is the girl I used to date in college. She revealed that Beth was backstabbing me. It's probably the biggest shock of my life. I used to genuinely like Beth. I trusted her with everything and shared all my plans with her. But she'd been giving away all the info to my enemy, James. What's more, James was my competitor in the election, and he was finding out all my plans in advance. Oh, did I mention that Beth was cheating on me with Raymond? I was mad at Raymond for betraying me like this. I mean, yes, he was just someone I had hired for a job, but I actually thought that he was a nice guy. It was quite devastating to realize that practically everyone in my life had betrayed me up till this point. However, when I met with Raymond the next day, he started telling me Beth's truth himself. He was a nice guy after all. As more time passed, I started trusting him more and more. Meanwhile, Melissa wanted my help to break off her arranged marriage with some rich jerk named Cole. Cole was providing James with the funds for his election campaign. He was also involved in a lot of illegal activities. When Cole refused to back away from the marriage, I asked him to marry one of my sisters. By sisters, I mean Natalie and Penny, but God knows about how he found out about Tina. I underestimated that guy. He literally brought Tina back to the city and placed a condition in front of me. He was either going to marry Melissa and keep helping James, or he could marry Tina and also get my protection when I won the elections. He gave me 1 week to decide. After I left his house, Raymond called me to meet his girlfriend. It turned out that his girlfriend was my fake ex, Kristen. She was deceiving him, so much so that she started yelling at me when I told him the truth. I thought that I had lost the only friend I made in my entire life. But Raymond came to me the next day and apologized for everything. He had confirmed Kristen's truth from Melissa. Well, at least he escaped before a lot of damage could occur. Before I continue my story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support me. So, the election campaign was in 2 days. I had prepared a speech in my head. I wasn't going to risk writing it down for those rats named Beth and James. The night before the campaign, Beth called me. "Hey Milton, I just got off work. Would you like to have dinner with me at a friend's place?" she asked sweetly. What was this? Were they going to poison me or something? If I refused, they're going to be suspicious of me. Beth still didn't know what I had found out. Everything about her, well, I could go and pretend to have no appetite. So I went to the address that Beth sent me. I was curious to see who this friend was. A servant greeted me at the door and brought me to the living room, where Beth was waiting for me. I wasn't even surprised to see James sitting beside her. I guess they were finally ready to reveal their true colors. I glanced around the mansion. A number of servants were roaming around, and they were all armed. This was obviously a trap. "You are observant as ever, Milton," Beth smiled. "So, how much did you deduce?" "Enough to know that you're a disgusting backstabber," I replied. "Though, I am glad that it's finally over. At least now I won't be wasting my time with you." "Who said it's over?" James started laughing. "It's just started." Before I could comprehend his word, 2 of the servants came forward and handcuffed me. I'll be honest, I didn't come prepared for this. My mind was preoccupied with the election speech, and I thought Beth would only go as far as to poison me. Who knew she was planning to expose herself this soon? "So, now you're resorting to such cheap tricks?" I asked her. "Glad to see that I make the 2 of you so insecure." Beth gave me a malicious smile. "I hope you'll understand, Milton. We will keep you here only for the duration of the campaign. You see, you have more power than you deserve. let James have some too, yeah? I scoffed. Sure, let's see if he can win after ruining my campaign. Oh, I will, James replied. I'll be using your speech after all. What can go wrong? Ha! I saw this coming. Not writing down the speech was probably the best decision I had ever made. Let me call my boyfriend, Beth said, dialing Raymond's number on her phone. He'll bring the speech here. Oh, right. She still believed that Raymond was working for her. Oh, poor Raymond. How would he react in this situation? I didn't want him to blow his cover, as it was coming in pretty handy. Beth put the phone on loudspeaker and shot me a smirk. She was probably expecting me to be shocked on hearing Raymond's voice. Hello? Raymond's voice came from the other side. Bertha? What's up? I mentally facepalmed. He was going to get us all in trouble. It's Beth, Raymond, Beth corrected him. How many times do I have to tell you? Cue my acting. Oh my god! Did you just say Raymond? I gasped. He's your boyfriend? What the heck? How could you do this behind my back? Beth gave me a smug smile. That's not important right now. What I mean is, you're not important. I honestly pity you. Everyone ends up betraying you, and I can see why. You're an easy target. One act of kindness and you give away your trust. Well, she was not wrong, but thanks to her, I'd learned my lesson. She went back to her phone call and asked Raymond to bring my speech. Raymond must have caught on to the situation because he agreed and hung up on the phone. Now, I just hoped that he would keep up the act. Raymond arrived about an hour later. Beth went to hug him, and I could see the disgust clear in his expression. His eyes landed on the handcuffs and scanned my whole body for any injuries. Oh, what's this guy doing here? Raymond asked Beth after making sure that I was unharmed. Did you finally tell him the truth? Beth nodded. It was inevitable. I needed to lure him here so that we could lock him up and ruin his campaign. Thankfully, he walked right into my trap. Raymond gave me a look that called me stupid in many different languages. Raymond patted Beth's shoulder. Oh, that's brilliant, Betty. You're a genius. Who was stupid now? Beth scowled at him. Do you have amnesia? Raymond let out a nervous chuckle. No, I was just kidding. Then he handed her a sheet of paper. I frowned. Did he write a fake speech? James started reading the speech, and my eyes widened. It sounded really impressive and impactful, but something was wrong with it. Actually, a lot of things were wrong with it. It was full of politically incorrect ideas, and some lines were downright offensive. But it was written in such a way that stupid people like James and Beth would never know. And I guess they were not even going to check its credibility since they clearly believed that it was written by me. Seriously, how was James even running for an election? Wow, James, that sounded awesome, Beth clapped. Yeah, it just sounded awesome. Its reality was something else, just like Beth and all the other gold diggers out there. I glanced at Raymond. He gave me a smug look. Now, I was pretty sure that he was the one who prepared this speech. Beth and James started talking about their campaign preparations. I turned to look at Raymond again. His expression was full of concern. I guess he was worried about me. I shook my head, gesturing for him to leave. We couldn't afford blowing his cover at such a crucial moment. As I said, it was quite useful to have my enemies trust him. That speech alone could ruin everything for James. After Raymond left, Beth brought me to a room. She took the bed and told me to sleep on the floor. I was still handcuffed, and it was really uncomfortable. Beth kept an eye on me throughout the night so that I couldn't escape. I wanted to ask her a lot of questions, thoughts that had been bothering me ever since I found out that she was betraying me. But she was not worth it. I'd moved on a long time ago. There was no use wasting my time on a gold digger like her. The next morning, I was dragged to the living room. Are you ready to see James delivering your incredible speech? She smirked. Yeah, I was ready to see him make a fool out of himself. My only concern was that what would happen to my campaign? Who would act as my representative? I had not even given my speech to anyone. I needed to find out a way to escape before it was too late. Hi, it's Milton again. Last time, I told you about how Beth and James trapped me at their home so that I wouldn't be able to go for my election campaign. They even tried to steal the speech that I prepared. Unfortunately for them, I saw this coming and never penned down the speech on paper. Raymond gave them a fake speech, and they totally fell for it. Now, before I tell you the rest of the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and support me. Beth forced me to sit in front of the TV and watch James deliver his speech. God, why was she so bent on humiliating herself? When I leaned back on the couch comfortably, she shot me a glare. Before she could say anything, though, James's face appeared on the screen. He started reading the speech, and it took everything in me to not burst out laughing. Hey Beth, can you give my phone back? I asked. I need to check the public reaction on his speech. She ignored me and picked up her own phone to check the social media apps. I watched the smile on her face transform into shock, and then she turned to me furiously. "What did you do?" she shrieked. I feigned innocence. "What do you mean? I'm sitting here handcuffed since yesterday. Do you think I'm capable of doing anything?" "Why is everyone bashing James for his speech?" she exclaimed. "What the heck did you write?" "Really? What are they saying? Show me!" She tossed the phone at the TV screen and stood up to give me a deadly glare. "This is definitely your doing. You knew from the beginning that something was wrong with the speech. But still, you kept your mouth shut." "Are you dumb?" I laughed. "Why would I tell you something like that? And that too, when you kidnapped me and ruined my campaign. Man, you sure have a lot of expectations from your victims." "You're going to regret this, Milton," she threatened. I rolled my eyes. I've already hit the rock bottom. You know, I don't even get shocked or surprised anymore. Try your best. She turned around and left. I released a breath. James bombed his campaign himself, and it was pretty beneficial for me. But what about my campaign? Even if by some miracle I escaped this place, I wouldn't be able to make it on time. So I had no option but to wait and watch. I glanced at the TV screen. James's speech was already over. Now, they were going to broadcast my campaign. But I wasn't present there myself. How ironical. I wasn't about to give up the idea of winning this election, when suddenly, a very familiar face appeared on the screen. I sat up straight and blinked a few times. Tina walked onto the stage and announced that she would be acting as my representative in my absence. She gave a speech of her own, and I couldn't help but gape at her. I had no idea that she was capable of this. I mean, yeah, she was the wise one and had redeemed herself a long time ago, but looking at her now, she seemed like a completely different person. Tina had really come a long way, and I couldn't be more grateful. Her speech was perfect, and I had no doubt that she impressed everyone. I couldn't help but feel proud. James suddenly entered the room and switched off the TV. I sighed and looked up at him. My eyes widened when I noticed his appearance. His face was covered with bruises, and he seemed pretty shaken up. Oops, looked like some offended people beat him up. I wanted to feel bad, but why should I? This guy had been a pain in my neck ever since my college days. His suffering wasn't even 1% of what he had put me through. He started yelling at me, accusing me for ruining his prospects of winning the election and blah blah blah. "You brought it upon yourself," I shrugged. "Maybe you should have been original instead of stealing other stuff. Now, bear the consequences." He scoffed. "You think you're all that, don't you? Well, newsflash, the election campaigns are still not over." I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "They have postponed the election dates," he smirked. "I may or may not have something to do with it." "What the heck?" I exclaimed. "How can you interfere with the elections?" "I can't," she replied. But I created some circumstances that forced the officials to postpone the dates. Wow, I was not even surprised anymore. He was going to fall as low as he could just to fulfill his desires. Your beloved sister Tina filed a report against me, he continued. But poor girl doesn't know that the cops take orders from me. If I ever won the election, I swear I was going to remove all these corrupt cops and officials. So, now you will stay here till the elections are over, and I win, James declared. Don't worry, Beth will take good care of you. 2 of his servants came forward to grab me. Before I could protest, they dragged me towards the room where I spent last night. I was pushed to the ground and the door was locked. I was still in handcuffs, and the room was really dark, so I couldn't see anything properly. I dozed off since I couldn't sleep last night. When my eyes opened again, I had no idea how much time had passed. But I did know one thing. My stomach was growling. I wasn't given anything to eat since last night. At this rate, I was going to collapse soon. The door suddenly opened, and I looked up to find Natalie entering the room. "Aw, poor little Milton. He looks so weak," she mocked with a smile on her face. "How does it feel to be completely helpless like this?" I wanted to retort, but I didn't want to waste my energy. "I'm here to babysit you for a few hours since James and Beth had to leave to take care of the mess you created," she said. That caught my attention. Beth and James were away? This was my opportunity to escape. Of course, I would need to think of a plan to trick Natalie first. "Hey, why don't you call your loyal pet Tina to help you get out of here?" Natalie smirked. "I'm surprised that she hasn't rescued you yet." Dang, you did so much for her, and this is how she repays you? Did Natalie take me for a kid? I knew that she was trying to turn me against Tina. Just how jealous and desperate was she? Moreover, Tina was smart for not coming here. It was nearly impossible for her to get me out of here without getting caught. I hoped Raymond was taking care of the election matters with her. I was capable enough to get out on my own. "Either bring me food or leave me alone," I said to Natalie. "Don't be so rude, Milton. I won't be here for long. You should use this opportunity to spend time with me," she remarked. Wow, where are you going? I couldn't keep the excitement out of my voice. "You shouldn't be so happy. I'm going to Japan to get more help for James," she replied. "And this is bad news for you, because once I'm back, no one can stop James from winning the election." She was talking as if she was going to get the Yakuza on her side and threaten the public to vote for James. I decided to provoke her so that she would give me more info. "You? Help?" I scoffed. "Please, you can't even lift your finger when needed. How can you even think of helping someone?" "I am not as useless as you think." She gave me a smug smile. "James entrusted me with this task after all. Me. Not Penny, not Beth, but me." Yeah, I got it. What was she so proud for? "And what is this magnificent task?" I asked. "I'm going to acquire funds for James by making deals with the conglomerates in Japan," she replied. "As you already know, I'm really skilled when it comes to business. This should be a piece of cake for me." I shook my head. "Natalie, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but the only thing that you're skilled in is gold digging." It took her a minute to comprehend my words. "How dare you?" she fumed. "Oh, you're also a good liar, if that makes you feel better," I said. "But you suck at everything else." Before she could explode, I raised my hands in defense. "Look, I don't want to offend you, but this is the truth," I said. "You can hate me all you want, but you're still my sister. I don't want others to make fun of you when you fail at doing your job. So, I have an offer for you." This made her pause and think for a second. I could see the confusion clear in her face. Good. My plan was working. If she fell for this, I could easily escape this place and run away to Japan for a while. "What offer?" she finally asked. "You want to impress James, don't you?" I started. "I think I can help you with that. I'll make all those deals and help you acquire the funds. In exchange, you have to help me get out of here and take me to Japan." She started laughing. "Are you kidding me? Why would I do that?" So, tricking Natalie was not as easy as I thought. But this was the only way out right now. I had to offer her something else. What though?